Investment, jobs and inclusive growth.
The creation of jobs remains our central priority for 2020. Many of our people are unemployed. This continues to be an area of focus by the African National Congress to achieve a far greater pace of economic growth. We will step up our investment drive, launch a massive infrastructure build program, reduce the cost of doing business, and see to the creation of jobs and expand pathways for young people into the world of work. Our intention is to create as many jobs for young people as possible. We will unlock the potential of small business, cooperatives, and the township economy. We will continue to revamp and reopen industrial parks in our townships and in our rural areas to enhance job creation. We will continue to promote sectors like manufacturing, tourism, agriculture, and the oceans economy as major areas for employment growth. More special economic zones will be opened for further employment creation, as we have seen that they are quite effective job creators.
All right, as I mentioned earlier, we are continuing then to dissect that January 8th statement delivered by the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa. We're now joined in the studio by leadership expert Dr. Mazwe Majola. Dr. Majola, it's always a pleasure having you here with us on SABC. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to talk about Eskom because, I mean, that's on everybody's lips and
yes.
One of the main issues that the president did touch on. But as a start, I mean, looking and, sort of analyzing the president's speech today, was there anything, new and interesting that came out of the president's address? I mean, it's his third January 8th statement as leader of the ANC. I mean, I heard one of our analysts speaking to my colleague Blaine Herman saying, you know what, there was nothing fresh here. Do you share, the same sentiments, or was there something that did interest you in that speech?
Unfortunately, I share that sentiment greatly. I think it's really, it's becoming boring, it's becoming monotonous, repetitive. Speeches that are promises making, and then there are no practical solutions about them. The problem is, look, we are talking about a 12-month priority, or next year again, it's not like we are saying in 5 years we'll be doing this. It's very difficult, to put tangible, visible results within 12 months.
Yeah.
So of course the areas they will be touching are continuous challenges for South Africa. Talking about unemployment, crime, poverty alleviation, and so forth and so on. So all those things are continuous challenges. So unfortunately, they will find themselves repeating these things again and again. But what they need to do, at least, is to capture the South Africans by setting things that would be punchy, something that would be tangible. Something we say in the next 12 months. Because surely, again in 2021, 8 January, ANC will come back again with the January 8th. It's a tradition of the organization over the years. Yeah. But, that is, so it seems like there is this template every year that the writers will just pick up and then just add, copy and paste what we've said. If you read the January statements or these statements for the last 3-4 years, you'll pick up almost all these things that are said again and again, and the structure is the same. Everything's the same, So that's why I'm saying, really, I don't know whether it looks like just a certain template, and then the speech writers, they just take it and just add it there and put it there. So unfortunately, it's just promises. And South Africans are hungry for solutions, tangible solutions.
You talk about promises, and I find it quite interesting that the president touched on quite significantly, which it has been quite a trend of his to touch on the issue of land, and that in fact the people will get their land back. Is that just rhetoric? Are we as the people supposed to read into that as just, well, when it's time for elections, that's another line that they use, and also when it's time for statements such as these, could we just read into that as just, a word that interests people, a statement that interests people, the land issue? Could we see it as just rhetoric and really empty promises, as you've sort of pointed out?
It has been a rhetoric for the last few years. They've been talking about land reform, expropriation without compensation. The big test for this year, and I think that's why they're supposed to pin on it, something that will be tangible, something South Africans will look up to. The big thing around land is that they've released the bill, and then now for people to comment on it, So the question is, how are they going to push this within the next 12 months? So those are things that need to happen. In the next 12 months, we'll be focusing on this. By July, we'll be done. By September, this will be done. By October, come December, this will be, so that there should be some indicators, and people they can look up to those or into those and say, but you said you will do this thing, and come October, this has not been achieved. So they've got a good opportunity to prove themselves as far as the expropriation without compensation is concerned.
Yeah, I heard one of our analysts earlier before you chatting about the fact that the ANC needs to sort of map out or paint out, its character, the character of the party going forward, and how it will appeal to younger people, going forward. And I think about the fact that the ANC is, a liberation movement. It's a fact. It's the oldest African liberation movement. But can the ANC really hold on to that forever? I mean, that tagline being the liberation of South Africans, the liberators of South Africans. Surely at some point that stops holding sentimental value. What should the ANC really be painting out or mapping out as being, looking forward, their legacy then of the ANC, and perhaps so that we can hear a different January 8th statement each year?
The problem is that it's becoming increasingly irrelevant, and I'm sorry to say that. Yeah. Irrelevant, as I'm saying that when you're sitting there listening to this speech and you pick up the last year's one, in the 2018 and 2017, you're saying, but it's the same thing. The only time the ANC will restore its respect and credibility, it's when they put their promises into practice. Action speaks louder than words. South Africans want to see results, not promises. You cannot tell, we are going to do this, we'll be doing this, and we'll be doing this. And people really are becoming tired of these rhetorics and empty promises. People are hungry, they don't have jobs, they need employment, there are things they want, and then they want to see those tangible results. And there's nothing as dangerous and as bad as being a leader and to say things and you don't fulfill the promises. It destroys your credibility, it destroys your integrity, and it destroys your respect. Because people will say, no, he said that, no. But when you say something and you do it, and people will say, this is our leader, we know that one, he speaks and then he does what he promises. Is not about just politicking.
Yeah, as a leadership expert, I'm sure you're looking and focusing primarily on the ANC's leadership at this point. If I were to ask you to describe, the current leadership, what would you say? And looking at it from where I am, I look at issues like female representation. If you look even at the top 6, I would think for a movement like the ANC that it's embarrassing that there aren't, significantly enough women in the ANC's top leadership structures. What is your view when you look at the ANC's current leadership, and what perhaps do you see as the ANC having to mold or change in that?
The leadership, it's, and when I said leadership, it will start with the president, because the buck stops immediately, but then obviously is the one who leads, who is leading the organization. He's not decisive, he is not courageous enough to take tough decisions and hard decisions. He seems to be, that Mr. Nice, people's pleaser. You just, laugh and just make everyone happy, too accommodative. And unfortunately, that leadership style is not good. You cannot practice one and the same leadership style all the time. That is why in leadership styles are changeable, are adaptable. You must adapt as and when the environment and the situations warrant you to so you can't use the same leadership style all the time. And his excessive consultative style makes him incompetent. It makes him as though he is not competent enough, because he takes time to make decisions. He consults so much, He believes in creating commissions, advisory commission, task team. Each and every time he must make a decision. Someone was even saying that, Jabu Mabuza resigned. We wonder if the president will be will be putting together a task team to appoint the next ESCOM chairperson. So he's not a person who can, as a leader, who can say, I'm doing this. He always tries to accommodate and put all of it. That's a good stuff, but not all the time. So unfortunately, that's what makes the decisions not implemented all the time. But he has done great things in terms of appointing certain individuals. He fill up the position, NPA, SARS, and other areas. But unfortunately, we haven't seen, results or things happening from those institutions.
I want to carry on talking about the lack of decisiveness that you're mentioning when it comes to the president. And as you've touched on ESCOM, I think it's ideal at this point just to bring that in. Is that a lack of decisiveness, in your words, partly the reason why we are sitting where we are with ESCOM? I mean, we've also seen, the president being sort of embarrassed to the point where he said last year, December, we're not going to see load shedding until such and such a time, and unfortunately, that's not what we got. And then there were, words said that the president had been misled. I mean, should we look into his leadership style as a reflection of what's going on at ESCOM at the moment?
Absolutely. It's his leadership style, and people are looking up to him, and obviously they are acting in a certain way, the way he does things, So that is why we found ESCOM to be in this mess. But let me just say that I admire Jabu Mabuza for what he has done, for resigning. That is accountability, leadership par excellence. You're a leader, you said certain things, and then it didn't go according to what you said. Remember, he was a chairperson. Of course, he was an acting CEO, but he was advised by layers under him that, given this situation, definitely we don't foresee any load shedding during this time. So he communicated that to the president and to the nation, coming from the layers, because remember, incorporates the different layers. So whatever he said, it was not just coming from he was advised as well. But if you were someone else, you would have said, or you would have blamed those people and defended himself and say, whatever I communicated, it was based on advices I got. But being an accountable leader, and a responsive leader. He took ownership that I was the leader. I said these things. I don't want to shift blames. I must take the ownership and fall on my sword. That's what he has done, and really that's what great leaders do. Very unfortunate that he left. He tried his utmost best, but unfortunately, I think it was a good time for him to leave, because again, it was going to taint his leadership legacy.
Yeah, I want to stay on the issue of Eskom. A couple of days ago, I was chatting to an energy expert, and one of the things that he raised, he said that there is a crisis, leadership crisis within Eskom, and that the wrong people are there who perhaps don't know as much as they should about energy and shouldn't be at the helm at Eskom. When you look at the leadership structure of Eskom, what is your view? And now, as we sit with this resignation?
Well, number one, it was the appointment of Jabu Mabuza.
Yeah.
Of course, that was a big mistake. He's a well-respected business person, and he has led very big corporates and big organizations. So, from business acumen side, he's a great person. But to take him to lead an organization like Eskom, you needed someone with business acumen and also engineering background. Preferable someone who has been within the establishment, because to run an establishment like that is huge, it's complex.
Yeah.
You need someone who almost understands and knows different departments. When you talk about maintenance, someone who will know exactly that why that maintenance was not done. It's something that he has been doing. Someone who has touched and been involved in different departments, and then rise within the organization until he becomes there. So it's better to find someone like that and lead an organization like that, because it's someone who knows the organization, really. Now, they've got a new CEO, and it's a good guy. He's coming from Sasol. He brings a very good record, but it's going to take him probably about between 3 to 6 months orientation just to understand the structures, the systems, the dynamics of the organization. He comes with his strategic expertise, but in terms of the bolts and nuts of the organization, it's going to take him time. While he's doing that, and then it takes time. So, but when you take someone ready, immediately to implement it's easy.
Dr. Majola, I'm going to ask us to take a short break so that we can change our focus to local government. The ANC president has warned municipalities that they are failing to deliver basic services to communities, that they face serious consequences. South Africa is due to hold local government elections next year.
It is therefore vital that government at all levels works to advance the interests of our people. Local government, which is closest to where our people live and work, must perform its functions efficiently and consistently. We have started the process of effective performance evaluation at the local government level. We will be focusing on the capabilities, the commitment and integrity of those who are deployed to serve our people at that local government level. And may I add, yes, at provincial as well as at national level. Where there is poor or no performance, there will be consequences. Already steps have been taken to evaluate the performance of our deployees. We will ensure that we root out bad performance. We will ensure that those who do not perform the duties that they are supposed to perform are dealt with, and there is consequence management.